I want to talk to you today about my experience in the bathhouses of San Francisco. To do that, I need to back up a little and talk about the way they first started in San Francisco. The biggest, most famous one was the Sutro Bathhouse, which was out at the beach. It was a huge temple, really. It was built in 1896 and burned down in 1966. And it was a notorious spot for men to meet each other. It was that simple. Whatever terms they wanted to meet on, they could meet there. It was open to everyone, but apparently there were private changing rooms which were frequented by gay men. There's several letters that were written at the time where a straight man was looking for a gay man who was a guest in town, and he wanted to entertain them, and they suggested he go to the Sutro Baths. The ruins of the Sutro Baths are still a popular tourist spot in San Francisco. About the time that they burned down in 1966, when I was graduating from college, I suppose it was about that time that the other bathhouses opened. The one I remember is Dave's Baths, which was there when I was a young man in San Francisco. The first time I ever went down to it, I'd caught a cab. I was too embarrassed to tell the driver where I wanted to go, so I said, just Montgomery Street. And he said, the whole street? And I said, no, and he said, where do you want to go? And I said, finally, Dave's Baths. And he said, oh, why didn't you tell me so? I take a lot of people there. And he did. He took me there, and I checked into this at the desk. You had to sign your name in those days to say who you were. So with a perverse sense of humor, I suppose, I signed mine L.O.B. Branch. I mean, it was my great-great-grandfather was a Confederate general whose name was L.O.B. Branch. And I turned that into Ellaby, like a first name, Ellaby Branch, and signed that at the desk. I was given my towel. So I went off basically in search of cock and found one. I can't remember which one, appropriately enough, but it was a delightful thing to be able to do what I wanted to do in that regard and be in a place that I felt safe. I had not been out of the closet that long, or even out. I can't officially say that I was out at that point because I was still operating under cover, as it were. But it was an amazing thing to be in this place where I knew it was other gay men. It was safe. There was freedom like I'd never experienced before. Dave's Baths was a wonderland. I'd never found out who Dave was. Never met Dave. But I have to thank him for giving me the environment for my world to change. There was every race in there. All sorts of experiences that I'd never had before. Mostly ones that involved being human with fellow human beings. It was extraordinary, really. I would look at it today and not think that at all, I suppose, but it was at the time. I was captivated by the freedom of the place. It drove me on to look for other horizons when I discovered there was a place called the Rich Street Baths on the other side of town that was even more elaborate. And I suppose I thought it would be people that I didn't know because I hadn't experienced yet because it was on the other side of town. Rich Street featured what they called a Minoan temple. I still don't know what that was, but it was a pool at one end of the place, and with slightly Grecian motif going on. And at the Rich Street Baths, you could get a 9-grain sandwich with turkey, only steps away from the Minoan Temple. So you could sit there and munch on your sandwich while you were waiting to get your cock sucked. I was in love with that place, and it opened up such wonders to me that I shared it with several people that I knew, including my woman friend, Jan Fox. And she was captivated by the fact that I had such a place. She said, "Oh, God, I wish I had something like that girls could go to." I tried going home once or twice with guys from there, but I learned that didn't work out. It was meant as a temporary pleasure, and I couldn't go marry someone I met at the baths, and I became resolved to that. Later, I discovered the glory holes on 6th Street, which was very basic. It was just a room with cubicles that had holes in them, where dicks would come through the holes. And to the great astonishment of me and pleasure of me. And that became my regular habit to go to the glory holes. I was going to the Chronicle by then, which conveniently was only two blocks from the glory holes, 2 or 3, I guess. So I would go over there on my lunch hour, and while I was writing Tales of the City, and have fun at the glory holes. It was referred to publicly as the Good Health Club. GH, it said outside, so the joke was that stood for good health. And I would go there and go back and report to work as soon as I was done. One day, the editor of the Chronicle, this very distinguished elderly man named Charlie Thiriot, asked me to come up to his office. He had something he wanted to talk to me about. I didn't know what it was, and I can't even remember what it was now, but when I was sitting there talking to him, I looked down and realized that there was a big wad of bubble gum on my knee, stuck to my knee. and so I had to subtly move my hand over it so it could not be seen. I'm not sure it ever registered on him, but it sure did with me. I was in a panic. But I was able to use my, to milk, as it were, my experience at the gay baths in Tales of the City. It's referred to repeatedly by people saying so-and-so went to the baths. Or I didn't get graphic about it. I couldn't. But I acknowledged that they were a thing. And at the Sutro Baths, which was not like the original Sutro Baths out of the ocean, but a little place on Valencia Street, I believe, that was a co-ed bathhouse, if you can imagine such a thing. For a while, they invited men and women to come there, and it was mostly gay men, but some women. I don't know how this worked, because I would run in terror from any woman who came into the place, because it wasn't what I was familiar with. They must have been brave and souls. I have to give them credit for that. Or knew where to find the fun. I don't know. Of course, I knew about the bathhouses in New York, which had their own reputation. It was not exactly like that of San Francisco, which was more raw sex. Bette Midler sang at the Continental Baths to a bunch of men in towels who would put on their towels and come back and listen to her sing, accompanied by Barry Manilow. I'll never figure out why people were shocked to discover that he was gay many years later, after he had been working in that environment with Bette. I suppose they did things different in New York. I don't know. It was where Bette got her start. For a long time, she didn't like to talk about that a lot, but I think she's over that now. I think it's a wonderful history to have been there in that room with all those men in towels and to be belting out one of her songs. It's part of her history, really. It's part of what makes her special to us today. In San Francisco, once the AIDS crisis hit, the city decided to close down the bathhouses. Interestingly, they didn't close down the sex clubs. I never quite understood the reasoning behind that. And I always felt personally that was a wrong-headed thing to do, because they could have used those spaces to educate people about AIDS, to have, posters up about what needed to be done about it, and you could inform people. The places that were left open were places that had no communication at all with the patients. Anyway, long past, but people wanted to do what was right and didn't quite know how to do it, as usual. That didn't stop me from going to the baths completely, but it was interesting. The thing that stopped me was I became too well known, and I didn't have the joy of anonymity. That came to me in full force when one day I was at the glory holes, and some guy came up behind me and sort of put his arms around me and said, "I really love your work." Talk about a boner killer. That sent me screaming out of the room. I had to stop and be polite, but it was more than I could handle. And I suppose it was time. Sooner or later, you have to realize that you're not that person anymore. That didn't come to me rapidly, but it came eventually. Your body tells you that eventually, and you get a certain vanity comes into place because you don't want to be seen as a ridiculous old man. And I suppose there was some element of that for me. And I had learned to have sex, with the person I love. It came late in my life, and I was glad when it did. There's so much shame attached to sex in our world, in our society, especially around gay sex. And I realized that I needed to get rid of that, and the baths helped me to do that, to eliminate my shame, to become matter-of-fact about sex, and to put it in its place once and for all. I'm so glad that I had that experience. I'm so glad that I had it, and that it occurred at a time before there was a dangerous epidemic to make people stop. It was worth it to me, that time at the bathhouses. More than worth it. It's a fond memory. And while I don't remember many of the people who are in those dark rooms with me, I do remember what it felt like, what the experience was, the communion you felt with your brothers. I remember how that was. And it gives me a warm glow even today. I'll always be grateful for having had that youthful bacchanalia. It made every difference to me. It opened me up creatively, among other things, and made me accept who I am for once and for all. And I credit that to my time at the bathhouses. I really do. And I wish the same thing for you, by the way. Not necessarily a bathhouse, but a chance to feel yourself for once and for all. So, thank you for coming along today and listening to me say lewd things. It was fun, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.